Hi Yogi, and welcome to another slow flow class with me, Oceana. In today's episode, of course, we've arrived at the final week of our exploration of side bends, the lateral postures of yoga. This means that this is an advanced level sequence. It's not suitable for anyone who's fairly new to the practice. I'll link the previous 3 weeks here for you. You'll find something there that's a little bit more your speed, that will allow you to feel less discouraged and hopefully build up to this particular class over time. Today, for those of you who will be following along, we'll be, of course, applying the techniques we've explored in the past few weeks to some more complex and advanced postures. That includes full Visvamitrasana, Koundinyasana II, possibly chin stand if you feel up for it, as well as seated compass pose. The only thing you need in terms of props is a blanket for some of the seated postures at the end of our practice. And aside from that, we'll be starting in a downward facing dog. So when you're ready, join me there, Yogi. Once you find your downward dog, feel free to bend the knees here, have a little pedal through the feet, easing into the backs of the legs and the bottom of the feet, possibly wagging the tail of the dog, having a little shimmy of the hips left and right as you settle into the pose. Finding a little bit of stillness just for a breath or two. Let the inner elbows spin forward, press down through index finger and thumb. Let the shoulders soften down the back. From here, bring the big toes to touch at the back of the mat as you inhale. Left leg lifts up and back into three-legged dog. As you exhale, bring your shoulders forward on top of the wrists. Draw that left knee in towards your left armpit and hover. Let the inhale slide the knee towards your wrist. Again, hover above the floor. Exhale to draw the knee back in towards the armpit. Inhale to lift the leg all the way up and back, three-legged dog. Exhale, tiger's curl, knee to nose. Step or shimmy left foot forward, bring the back knee down. As you inhale, lift the arms into low lunge, Mariani, left hand to the front thigh. Right fingertips reaching across for the left edge of the mat, really pressing down through your bottom hand to lengthen through right side of the waist. On the exhale, both hands to the inside of your front foot. Lift your right heel, spin the right toes forward. Trace your way along the right edge of the mat until you face the back. Tuck your left toes under. Lift the right leg up and back, three-legged dog, second side. As you exhale, draw the right knee forward to the right armpit. Again, shoulders on top of the wrist and hover. Inhale, slide the knee towards the wrist and hover. Exhale, knee to the armpit. Inhale to lift the leg back up, three-legged dog. Exhale, draw the knee in towards the nose and step the foot to the back of the mat. On an inhale, find your way into a high lunge. Lift the arms. And then we'll turn to face the left edge of our mat in Skandasana. So left heel spins down first, the right toes turn in. We shift all of our body weight into the right leg with a deep bend on the knees. The fingertips reach forward and back with the thumbs pointing up, and the shoulder blades pinch together at the back of the body. Shift your weight into the opposite leg, optional to stay really tall or to lift your left heel towards the left sitting bone, right toes pointing up towards the ceiling in a low Skandasana. Seeing if you can find your balance here. Crown of the head is lifted. And then hands together at the heart center, press into your left leg, come all the way up, extend both legs. Find the center of your mat. Turn the toes out. Slight bend on the knees here, lift the arms overhead. Right hand in front of the left, press the hands into each other so you're engaging the shoulders and arms. And then descend your hips, bend the knees deeply into horse stance. Stay for just a few rounds of breath here, don't neglect your arms. On an inhale, straighten the legs, switch the hand position, so left hand in front of the right. Soften the shoulders, engage the hands towards one another. As you exhale, sink the hips down low into horse stance. Release the hands to the hips. Straighten the legs as you inhale and then turn from your feet to turn all 10 toes to point forward into a high lunge at the front of your mat. Frame the front foot with both hands. As you exhale, draw the right heel towards your right sitting bone. See if you can reach your left hand back and catch possibly the inner edge of the foot or all the way to the ankle. And then keeping that contact of your right heel towards the right sitting bone, have a little peek underneath your right armpit. Finding your inverted compass, the right knee is aiming towards the ceiling here. Again, finding just a few moments of breath and stillness. Gently from here, release your grip on the top leg, plant the hands at the front of the mat, step your top foot to the back, and inhale, step it back into your high plank, feet hip distance, shoulders on top of your wrists. As you exhale, lower down with control for Chaturanga Dandasana. Let the inhale float your chest up into your upward facing dog, and let the exhale take you back to downward facing dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. Staying just for a few rounds of breath, let the inner elbows spin forward. Gently, big toes touch at the back of the mat as you inhale, right leg lifts up and back. Slightly different here from three-legged dog as you exhale, draw the right knee forward and across to your opposite elbow, hover. Let the inhale take the knee towards the wrist and hover. As you exhale, pick the knee back up. On the inhale, find your way back into three-legged dog. Exhale, tiger's curl. Step or shimmy the foot forward, back knee down. As you inhale, find that low lunge on the second side. Right hand to the front thigh, left arm reaching across into that side bend. Really finding that grounding through your bottom hand, reaching the left fingertips across. On an inhale, both hands to the inside of your front foot. Lift your left heel. Spin the toes to point towards the front of the mat and trace your way along the left edge of the mat. Plant the hands at the back. Again, tuck your right toes under as you inhale, left leg lifts up and back. Three-legged dog on the second side. As you exhale, coming forward and across, left knee towards your left armpit. Slide it down to the wrist, hover. Exhale, pick the knee back up. Let the inhale bring you back to three-legged dog as you exhale, tiger's curl. Step or shimmy the foot towards the back of your mat. On an inhale, lift your arms into a high lunge. And again, from here, we'll slowly transition into Skandasana by spinning the right heel to the floor, turning the left toes in, shifting our weight all the way into the left leg, drawing the sitting bones down and back, the arms reach wide, thumbs pointing up towards the ceiling, seeing if there's a little bit more space for us to let the sitting bones drop and embrace that burning in the left thigh. And then we'll transition it into the right leg. So again, optional to stay really high and tall or to draw your right sitting bone towards the right heel, lifting the left toes up. Possibly hands can come together at the heart center, elbows wide, crown of the head lengthens, embracing that wobble as we find a little bit of a toe balance here. And from here, we'll press into our right leg. Straighten the legs so that we come into the center of our mat. We'll turn the toes towards the outer corners, heels turn in, lifting the arms up and overhead, and slightly different here. We'll send the arms in a big wide circle, drawing the right elbow on top of the left. Either backs of the hands can touch, or you could double bind your palms for full Garudasana arms. As you exhale here, sink your sitting bones down, bend the knees into horse stance, lift a little bit higher through the fingertips. Let the hips sink a little bit lower. Find just a few rounds of breath here, press the knees apart. And then straighten the legs, reach the arms up. And draw that big circle of your fingers again. This time as you circle the arms down, we'll take opposite left elbow on top of the right. Backs of the hands can touch, or double binding again. Reach your fingertips up as you bend the knees and sink the hips down low. Again, we find a couple of moments here to breathe, to lift and embrace that stretch in the back of the shoulders. And then we straighten the legs and release the arms all the way up towards the ceiling. We turn all 10 toes to point towards the front of our mat in a high lunge. We frame the front foot with both hands and then gently stepping, or rather drawing the left heel towards the left sitting bone. Again, pressing into your left hand, see if you can lift the right hand behind you to catch the inside of your foot, or possibly all the way to the ankle. And then draw that left foot towards the sitting bone on the same side. See if you can lift your knee up, coming into that inverted compass on the second side. Possibly you're having a little peek underneath your left armpit, so that again you're challenging your balance, your drishti, where you're taking your gaze and awareness. Possibly deepening the pose for the last few breaths. Again, gently from here, release the grip on your top foot, land it behind you, plant the hands at the front and inhale to a high plank. As you exhale, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale to upward facing dog. As you exhale, let the sitting bones lead you back into your downward facing dog. Ardha Mukha Svanasana. Inner elbows spin forward. Bring the feet to touch the back of the mat. As you inhale, left leg lifts up and back, three-legged dog. As you exhale, draw the knee to nose, shoulders come forward, tiger's curl, exhale. Step or shimmy the foot to the front of the mat. Spin your back heel down as you inhale, windmill the arms and open it up into Warrior II, Virabhadrasana II. Lengthen through the tops of the knuckles, let the fingers be soft, let the shoulders drop. Checking that your front knee is tracking over second and third toe. From here, as you exhale, right hand to the back thigh. Lengthen left fingertips back into reverse warrior. As you inhale, come back through center. Either left forearm to the front thigh, right arm overhead for Parshvakonasana, or you could reach the bottom hand to a brick or the floor, possibly binding the hands behind the back here. And if you catch the bind, spin the right shoulder back, maybe straighten your left leg and spin the chest open for your full last few breaths here. Gently release the bind, plant your left hand to the outside of your front foot. You can shimmy your back foot in a little bit if you wish. We're going to make our way into Visvamitrasana, so you can keep the back foot straight or you can bend the knee slightly, which makes it a little bit easier to get into. See if you can shimmy your left shoulder underneath your front calf and then catch the outer edge of your right foot, so your left foot with the right hand. As you extend the leg, spin the chest open towards the ceiling, reach your right shoulder back. And then gently release the foot. From here, if you wish, we'll make our way to Koundinyasana II. You can always have a little go at chin stand in between. So we'll shimmy our back foot away and we'll press the left heel forward, leaning into our right elbow as we shift our weight forward into the legs to float the right foot, lifting it as high as you can, and then possibly stepping back into your downward facing dog. You could, of course, stay there. You could rest in child's pose or move through a vinyasa as you inhale to come forward to high plank. Exhale through chaturanga. Inhale into upward facing dog. And exhale back to downward facing dog. And we'll meet there for a few rounds of breath. Slowly making our way onto the second side, we'll bring the big toes to touch at the back of the mat. Right leg lifts up and back for three-legged dog. Exhale, knee to nose, tiger's curl. Step or shimmy the foot forward. Spin your back heel down as you inhale, windmill the arms into Warrior II. Extend the knuckles forward and back. Again, find your alignment, soften the shoulders. Let your gaze drift forward over your front knuckles. As you exhale, back hand to the back thigh, right fingertips lengthen right side of the waist back into your reverse warrior. As you inhale, come through center, exhale, right hand to the right thigh, left arm up and overhead for Visvamitrasana, or bottom hand can come to a brick, possibly the floor. Maybe again, you're going for that bind behind your back, threading the hands around your front thigh. Spin the left shoulder back if you catch the bind, so don't let your chest collapse. And if that's still working, possibly you might wish to straighten your front leg, peeking up over your left shoulder. Again, finding just a little bit of stillness here to deepen the pose. From here, gently rebend your front knee and release the hands. Right hand to the outside of your front foot, left hand just under its own shoulder. Again, optional to keep the legs in this position or to shimmy the back foot in slightly as we come into Visvamitrasana. Right shoulder is aiming to get underneath your front calf. From there, shifting our weight into the left foot and the right hand. See if you can grab hold of the outer edge of your front foot. Then sending your weight back into the back body as you extend the leg, roll your left shoulder back. Have a little peek underneath your left armpit towards the ceiling. Extend and press your right leg away to deepen the pose. And gently release the foot when you're ready. Again, we'll slowly transition here into Koundinyasana, and you can feel free to float up into a chin stand if that's part of your practice. I'm going to slightly slide my way back here so that I don't have any radiators in my way as I extend this leg. So right elbow's underneath the right thigh. Left elbow tucks in towards the left rib cage as we kick the right foot away from us, and then shifting our weight into the hand so that we can float the back leg. And gradually from there, stepping your way back into a downward facing dog when you're ready. We'll meet there. Optional, of course, to take a moment to rest. Otherwise, we'll move through a vinyasa as you inhale forward to your high plank. Exhale to lower down through chaturanga. Inhale into your upward facing dog. Press the floor away, lift the chest. As you exhale, come back into your downward facing dog. From here, big toes touch as you inhale, left leg lift up and back, three-legged dog. As you exhale, draw the knee in towards the chest for tiger's curl. And then take the left knee towards your left wrist. Flex the toes towards the shin bone. From there, if there's a little bit more space in your hips, you could walk the right foot a little bit further back. And if the hips aren't quite squared towards the front of the mat, supporting the left thigh with a block or blanket if it's at hand. From there, either softening the elbows so you can bring the forearms towards the ground. If you wanted to explore the back bend of pigeon pose a little bit more, then the hands can walk in towards the hips, using a little bit of pressure in the fingertips to lift the chest up towards the chin. Now, if you wanted to join me in a side bend variation, then from here we see if we can bend the back foot, catch it with our right hand. And as we bring the foot a little bit closer towards the sitting bone, we might be able to bring it into the crease of our elbow. Left hand reaches behind your back so that you might be able to bind the fingertips for mermaid pose, spinning the center of the chest forward. Left hip draws back, right hip rolls forward, very active in the legs still. And in your final few moments here in pigeon pose, settling into whatever you've chosen to do with this time. Slowly release the grip of your hands. If you're in mermaid pose, release the the back foot rather, and slide onto your left thigh so that you can extract your back foot and spin it all the way in front of you. So we're going to find a seated version of compass pose. So you can keep the left leg exactly as it is. We'll start with rock the baby so that we can again ease into this right hip joint, similar in the way that we did it last week. Right hand supports the back of the knee, left hand supports the foot. And from here, either you can take the pose name literally and rock the baby forwards and back. You could find a few circles in each direction with the knee so that you can start to feel any kind of tension in those main joints in the leg. As we come into seated compass, we'll want to switch this left hand and bring it over the foot and catch the outer edge. From here, we're going to see if we can bring the right arm, either possibly just the elbow or all the way the shoulder underneath the calf. And then we'll plant the right hand about a foot away. And now as we shift our way into the right sitting bone, we can start to press the right leg away from us, spin the chest open and roll the left shoulder behind us, possibly straightening the right leg and finding that seated compass pose for a couple of rounds of breath. Any of those options, if you stayed at an earlier stage, still a great achievement. So remember that every version of the pose is the pose. And very, very slowly here, we're rebending the top knee, releasing the foot, and simply spinning the feet behind us so that we can come into a tabletop position, releasing the sitting bones towards the heels, knees wide as we come into child's pose, Balasana. Just a couple of moments in asymmetrical pose here so that we can feel the effects of the previous postures. And of course, you can feel free to stay in your child's pose, to come into a downward facing dog, or possibly coming through your final vinyasa here with me as we inhale forward to a high plank. The exhale takes us through Chaturanga Dandasana, with the inhale making our way into upward facing dog, and the exhale taking us back into our downward facing dog. We'll all meet there when you're ready. Join us. Toes touch at the back of the mat as you inhale, right leg lifts up and back into that three-legged dog. On the exhale, right knee goes towards your right wrist on the floor. Again, start by flexing your right toes back first to protect the knee joint. Then if there's space to move, you can walk the left foot a little bit further back, finding that pigeon pose. If you could use a little bit of support underneath your right hip, then plant that there now. Again, option one, to soften towards your forearms. Possibly, if there's no pinching or pain in the lower back, you're exploring that back bend by walking the fingertips in. Or again, if you are making your way into mermaid pose with me, then seeing if you can bend your back foot, possibly catch it with your left hand. And as you bring the foot in closer, you might be able to bring the big toe to the elbow crease, which will hopefully allow you to bring your right hand behind the back and bind your fingertips. From there, center of the chest aims towards the front of the mat. You're spinning the chest open, actively rolling your left hip forward, right hip back, still engaging the legs. So you're not just slumping into your hips, but still actively opening the chest from the legs, from that activation in the legs. Slowly release the grip of your hands to begin, then release your back leg, shifting your way into the right thigh to draw the left foot forward. Again, right heel towards the opposite sitting bone. We'll find our seated compass pose here, starting with rock the baby, right hand to the bottom of the foot, left hand to the outside of the knee, maybe going forwards and back with that leg. Possibly finding a few circular rotations in each direction, noticing any sensations in your hip joint, in your knees, your ankle, foot. And then yogi's choice, if you wish to make your way into any variation of seated compass, we'll take the right hand to the top of the foot, catching the outer edge. Left arm comes possibly just the elbow underneath your knee joint. Possibly, if there's a little bit more room, you can shimmy the calf on top of your shoulder, and then pressing the left hand about a foot away in front of you into the floor, start to shift your weight into the left sitting bone as you straighten the leg and spin the right shoulder to the space behind you, lifting the center of the chest upwards and finding a couple of rounds of breath in that seated compass. Very gently here, bending the top knee to begin with, to release the foot in front of you. And again, just for a brief moment, we'll spin the feet behind us and find any version of child's pose that suits us right now. You can have the knees wide, knees together, hands in front or reaching behind, yogi's choice. And simply settling into a few rounds of breath here in your child's pose. Watching the belly expand as you inhale, the rib cage moving sideways and the chest lift. And softening everything as you exhale. Slowly, slowly walk the hands in towards yourself. Find a kneeling position where we'll close the practice. So we'll bring the hands together in front of the chest, bowing the forehead towards the fingertips, using this final moment to plant our sankalpa, that good intention that guides us as we leave our yoga mat and head back into the real world. The light in me recognizes the light in you. Namaste, yogi. So thank you so much for joining me in today's practice. Of course, if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Share it with your friends to spread the good word. And of course, if you want to find me anywhere else online, all of that information is in the video description. If you have questions, comments, feedback, pop those in the comment section down below. I always love hearing about your practice and how it went for you today. And of course, I hope to see you back on the mat very soon. Bye, yogi.